Hello, welcome to my channel Travel with KL. Handle is at KL Wanderlust. I am your host Kakoli and traveling is my passion. I am here to help you travel the world with me. So basically the idea to start this channel dawned upon me fairly recently, and even though I have traveled quite a bit, I have not shot much videos of those places. And then I thought, it again dawned upon me that there are lots of on-site videos online, and why don't I just sit, think, retrospect, and in hindsight may be able to guide you better about how to travel, because the whole idea of my channel is to help you travel better. So you should not be making the mistakes I probably made or lots of my friends made, and that is entirely the purpose of this channel. So here I am with my travel tips on Australia. So this I have called it part 0 because part 1 Melbourne is already done. You can check out my videos in the description box below. I have given a link for my other videos. The reason it's part 0 is because after I posted my Melbourne video, a friend called up and asked me, is May a good time to travel to Australia? And then I thought that before you actually start traveling, you should know some things before you start traveling. So this is part 0, and this is about some basic things to remember if you are planning a trip to Australia. Number 1, the time of travel. So Australia can have very extreme climatic conditions. So it's very important to time your travel well. The best time to travel to Australia is autumn, and being in the southern hemisphere, autumn basically means April, or spring, that is October. So late March, April, early May, or late September, October, early November are the best times to travel in Australia. Number 2, what are the places you should cover and how many days you need? Now it really depends on what you are looking for, but I would suggest that the most commonly visited places or the places which should not be missed are probably Melbourne, Cairns, because you have to do the Great Barrier Reef out there, Brisbane and Gold Coast in case you are interested in surfing or in case you're interested in theme parks, and of course Sydney. So you can always factor in Adelaide and Perth if you want, but these are the most widely traveled places, and you need at least 10 to 14 days to cover Australia properly. I mean, if it's less than 10 days, it will be too hectic. You can go beyond 14 days, but 10 to 14 is the ideal duration for a holiday in Australia. Tip number 3, what to wear. Now, this is very, very important, especially if you're traveling to Australia, because the weather varies from one place to another. The places are quite far apart. They vary from one place to another. Melbourne is generally cooler than the rest, so you need to wear clothes in layers. Cairns is, again, it's tropical Queensland, so it's warm. Sydney is somewhere in between. One thing to remember is that you have to pack all kinds of clothes. Winter clothes, summer clothes, spring clothes, everything. So, but one of the things I would like to tell you is that no matter which part of Australia you're traveling, Australia is known for its very, very strong UV radiation. So even in the winter months, and even if it's cloudy, the UV radiation can be 3+. And this is the oncologist in me speaking, that Australia has the highest skin cancer rates in the world because of the UV radiation and because of the skin burn it can cause. In fact, Australian school kids have hats as part of their uniform. So wherever in Australia, whatever time you're in Australia, if you're outdoors, please wear a hat, something like this, and a pair of sunglasses, almost always if you're outdoors, and lot of sunscreen on all the exposed parts. The SPF factor should be 50. So that's the important part. So number 4, coming to the other interesting part of Australia, the food. So Australia is great for seafood. I have had some of the biggest lobsters, crabs, oysters, soft shell crabs, prawns, all kinds of fish, especially barramundi. So you can get all kinds of great seafood there. Also, it's good for meat. If you're adventurous, you can try the kangaroo meat. You can even try the coconut satay. It's also famous for its dairy products, cheese, ice cream, milk products, milk itself. It's pretty awesome there. Coffee culture, especially in Melbourne. Wine, of course, we all know about the Australian vineyards and the quality of Australian wines. And even if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you have pretty good options. The vegetables the farm produce are pretty fresh and they are really delicious. Now, one of the things to remember is that it has really top-notch restaurants in almost all the major cities. But most restaurants in Australia, they close down early. So if you're planning a great dinner, you want to celebrate an occasion, or you just want to try the awesome food that they offer, make sure you turn up by 8 o'clock, because most restaurants, even in the inner cities, they close down by 9. In the weekends, they may stretch up to 9:30, but rarely beyond that. Doesn't matter whether you're in Melbourne or in Sydney or wherever it is, because otherwise you might end up eating at one of the fast food chains which are open 24/7. Trust me, this happened to me. So remember that. The other important thing to remember is that take the warning signs in Australia very seriously. If they say avoid this area, do not swim in this area, there are snakes in this area, be careful. Australia is known for its rich flora and fauna. However, you cannot, unlike the Mediterranean beaches or the European beaches where you just take off your clothes and jump into the sea, do not do that unless you are given an okay by a lifeguard or a guide or somebody. There can be jellyfish, there can be crocodiles, there can be sea snakes. Some places like Perth, there can even be sharks. So please be careful about these things. The last thing is that the expenses. So Australia can get a bit expensive because you have to factor in the interstate travel within Australia. You cannot just hop onto a train or a bus. You have to take flights. So that has to be factored in. Food and drinks and other amenities are also slightly on the costlier side. So maybe it's better to overestimate rather than underestimate your budget. So these are some of the basic tips for traveling to Australia. In my next video, I will be discussing about cairns up in North Queensland. If you like my channel, please like, share and subscribe.